Yeah, we are live.
Hello, hi, welcome or welcome back to another podcast of Cyber Talk with Cyber GRC। आज का टॉपिक बड़ा ही इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है क्योंकि आज हम बात करने वाले हैं एक कंफ्यूजन के बारे में जो कि एक ग्लोबल कंप्लायंस कंफ्यूजन है। ISO 27001 वर्सेस SOC 2 टाइप 2 दोनों ही सुनने में बड़े पावरफुल लगते हैं, दोनों ही ट्रस्ट और सिक्योरिटी के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, but which one is right for your company? Let's decode this once and for all. Welcome, sir. Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome, Vidya. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good, Vidya. Yeah.
Can you just introduce this topic a little bit more?
Sure. So basically, both of them are global compliances, like you rightly mentioned. ISO 27001 is more popular across the globe, and SOC 2 is basically, it's not SOC 2, it's actually SOC 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
Acha.
yeah. Systems and organization control, right? So
Okay.
basically, that is more, focused and popular in the US, area, because
Hmm.
it is basically created by AICPA, and they are basically based out of US itself. So that is the reason why it is mostly adopted in the US itself, right? So both are very good, standards, and both are very good compliances to be followed for any organization. Okay, if you say that you are ISO 27001 compliant, this itself demonstrates that you're serious towards information security. However, if you are a service provider, if you are basically a
Hmm.
SaaS service provider or a cloud service provider like AWS and Azure and all these big giants, then definitely SOC 2 plays an edge over that. For a SOC 2 type 2 basically report to be
Okay.
presented for a client, and we will see how that works and why is it so in this particular podcast, right?
Okay. That is great. So, can we move on to our questions?
Yeah, please go ahead, Vidya, shoot.
Who issues them?
So basically, the ISO 27001 is basically issued from the accredited certification bodies. Okay, there are many accredited certification bodies across the globe, which actually can audit your organization and issue you the ISO 27001 certification after auditing. So there are basically two stages in the audit: stage one audit and stage two audit. And in the stage one, they basically do the documentation review, and in the stage two audit they basically do a in-depth review whether you have actually
Okay.
performed what you have documented or not. So stage one and
Hmm.
stage two audits are cleared, and then the organization get the certification. However, SOC 2 type 2 is not a certification. Basically it's a attestation report. Okay, it's basically a attestation report that comes from licensed CPA firms in the US. Okay, so these are certified public accountants, okay, firms in the US. So basically, it is governed by AICPA, okay, Trust Services Criteria. So one is certified by security professionals. The other one is certified by accountants. Okay, it's basically a mix of tech and finance here. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, moving on to my next question, that what fundamental difference between ISO 2701 and SOC 2 Type 2?
Yeah. So for this particular question, I have actually created a slide here. Let me just share my screen, Vidya, so that others can also see this. I hope you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the basic comparison chart that I have created for the basic difference between the ISO 27001 and SOC 2 Type 2. Okay. So as you can see, the ISO 27001, the basic purpose is to have the ISMS standard implemented in an organization, and SOC 2 Type 2 is basically a US based attestation report that any organization will get. The nature of compliance is
Okay.
here, yeah, ISO 27001 is a certifiable standard, and SOC 2 Type 2 is an attestation report. Governing bodies we have already discussed. In the case of ISO, it is International Organization for Standardization, ISO, And for SOC 2 Type 2, we have seen that is American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, right? AICPA. So scope
Okay.
coverage is basically for ISO, it is organization-wide management system. Okay. And here the scope coverage for SOC 2 Type 2 is basically service controls over a specific system. Okay. That you are basically covering in the scope. Okay. So control framework, basically 93 controls are there in ISO 27001. All of us know that. And 5 trust services criteria are there for SOC 2 Type 2. Okay. Audit approach,
Yeah.
basically it's a management system based audit, and the SOC 2 Type 2 is basically evidence based control testing. Okay. So geographical recognition we've already seen. ISO is globally recognized. However, SOC 2 Type 2 is primarily recognized in North America. However, I would say that now it is getting more traction. Okay. We can basically see more and more usage of SOC 2 in other parts of the world as well. Okay, because I have seen this adoption coming up. So report validity, basically 3 years certificate is valid for ISO 27001. So once you are certified, you are basically good to go for another 3 years. After 1 year, there will be the surveillance audits, but after those surveillance audits, you are basically good to go. And the SOC 2 Type 2 is basically valid for 1 year, okay, at the max. So typical duration is 1 year. So basically, if you are serving any US based client, definitely go for SOC 2 Type 2 because it holds more recognition in the US, like we discussed with you, right? That is why. And
Yes.
if it is for ISO 27001, then though it is globally accepted and that everybody knows it. So,
Hmm.
like we discussed, any SaaS based vendor, any cloud service provider, any financial organization that is storing critical data of customers, then definitely we need to
Hmm.
go for SOC 2 Type 2. Okay. And rest of the things we've already covered. I think nothing is basically new here. Yeah. So
Yeah.
ideal combination. The last one is
Basically,
basically, yeah. Go ahead.
basically, there is a lot of difference between these two, right?
Yes. Yes.
But why then people usually relate it?
Basically, people get confused. That is why we are having this
Okay.
podcast, right? To basically help them understand and clarify this confusion for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this
Yes.
is the reason, okay, why we are having this podcast, because people actually get confused. So if you see the last one,
Hmm.
actually, Vidya, it's an
Hmm.
ideal combination if somebody starts with ISO and then they
Hmm.
implement SOC 2. Okay. So if any organization is actually wants to implement both, that is a very good thing to
Hmm.
do. Okay. But again, where do
Okay.
they start? They need to start from ISO only. They can't start from SOC 2. So that is an interesting thing to now observe here. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. You're here.
Okay. I thought I just disconnected. Uh,
No, you're here.
can we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we start with my next question?
Yeah, go ahead.
My next question is, what areas do they cover?
So as we have seen already, okay, there are 93 controls, and these are covered by ISO 27001, and 5 trust services criteria, which is basically covered by the SOC 2 Type 2.
Mhm.
Focus is basically on security, availability, confidentiality, processing integrity, and privacy. These are the 5, uh, trust services criteria on which uh, the SOC 2 Type 2 works.
And okay, yeah. And ISO to 2701. What about that?
Yeah, 93 controls. Like I mentioned, you have to implement the 93 controls if you want to cover ISO 27001 in your organization. If you want to implement, you need to start implementing those controls along with the clauses. There are clause number 4 to clause number 10 you have to implement if you want to go for ISO 27001.
Okay, so ISO 27001 gives a framework to manage everything, while
Yes,
SOC 2 Type 2 gives you the proof whether you are doing it correct or not, right?
that is absolutely correct. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. But which one is globally recognized?
Yeah, we already seen that with the ISO 27001. Since the beginning we are discussing, it's
Yeah.
everybody people knows it, right? But
Yes.
SOC 2 Type 2 is basically more recognized and more popular, I should say, in the US. Okay, so that is there
But why is it? Why so?
because it is created by AICPA. So this particular body is actually based out of US only. That is why. So
Acha.
it's kind of a homegrown thing for them, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
So if your clients are in US, they'll just ask for SOC 2. If they are
Yes.
global, they'll ask for 27,001. Right.
Very simple.
Okay.
Yes, that is right. That is right.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long does each take, and with what efforts?
So basically, it's a very good question. Now, how long each takes? Basically, uh, ISO 27001 is quicker, I would say, to achieve than SOC 2 Type 2 because SOC 2 Type 2 usually takes more time. Okay, for the
Okay.
implementation. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that is the case actually. If, for example, if for some company it is taking 6 months to implement ISO 27001, and then for the other company, for the same company, for SOC 2 it will take 12 to 14 months easily.
Okay. So ISO 24/7 is like a long-term marriage, continuous improvement, and SOC 2 Type 2 is like an annual exam, basically. Pass or
That is
fail
that is true.
based
That is
on
true.
your.
That is very true. That is very true. Yes.
Okay. But which one should startup do the first?
So as I said in the previous slide also, if you saw, every company should start with ISO 27001 if they actually want to, implement both of
Okay.
them. They should start with
Mhm.
ISO 27001. Okay, because it gives them a structure, it gives them a discipline, it gives them a accountability for information
Yeah.
security from day one. Okay, and
Mhm.
they understand, okay, where they are basically. And then if they want to go for
Exactly.
maturity, if they want to go
Huh.
and become more mature, and if they want to become
Hmm.
more robust in that term, then they should go for SOC 2 Type 2.
Okay. So exactly, ISO 271 is your foundation, and
Yes.
SOC 2 Type 2 is the credibility. Yes, right.
Yes, it's kind of a credibility badge which you hold as an organization. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Acha. Okay. Can a company do both? Is it possible?
Yes. Yes. For example, the most of the cloud service provider that I have seen, who are in the market right now, they have done both actually. Because as you rightly mentioned, one is the basic, foundation, and another is built on top of it. So basically,
Okay.
also many controls also overlap. Like for example, access management, incident response, vendor risk management, third party risk management. All these controls also overlap. So basically,
Okay.
because of this, you can actually map to both the standards. So that is why companies go for both actually.
Basically, एक तीर से दो निशाने. One
That
system
is true.
and two certificates. Right.
That is true. That is true.
Okay. What are the main deliverables and evidences?
Mhm. So basically, when we talk about ISO 27001, the main deliverable is basically, you get a certificate from the attestation, the accreditation company who is actually doing your audit. You get a certificate from them saying that, they have audited your firm and they have found it compliant as per ISO 27001 2022 version, which is the latest one. Okay. However,
Yeah.
if you go for SOC 2 Type 2, you basically get a 80 to 100 page attestation report with testing results, and it has the auditor's opinion also. Okay. So in one of the later podcast, I'm planning to show people how these reports look like and what are the things that basically have to understand in these reports, basically to
Yeah.
have more clarity.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So my last and the final question is that final verdict. which one should one company should choose and why?
So basically, if you have a global market and
Uh,
if you are looking to implement a governance framework from a security perspective and you are just beginning your journey in this particular domain, then start
okay.
with ISO 27001 would be my recommendation. Okay. However, if your market is US centric, okay,
Hmm.
and you basically have to show your compliance to a client who is based out in the US specifically,
Hmm.
then you have to go for SOC 2 Type 2. Okay. And again, if you want to have complete trust and security, if you actually
Hmm.
want to, if you actually want to achieve the best of both the worlds, then combine these
Yeah.
two together, like we discussed.
Okay. What will be the final message you would like to give our audience?
So basically, ISO 27001 is your security DNA, and because this is how you start with it, okay, and your SOC 2 Type 2 is sort of a security report card, like you mentioned. It has to be published every year, right? So
Yes.
वो हर साल बताता रहेगा कि आपका कितना स्कोर है सिक्योरिटी में, where you are and all that. So
Okay.
basically, yeah, that is the main thing I wanted to say. And SOC 2 Type 1 and SOC 2 Type 2, these are basically again one of the very important and mostly asked question, like why exactly we should go for SOC 2 Type 1 and why exactly we should go for SOC 2 Type 2. Because if you see, there are two types, Vidya. One is Type 1 and one is Type 2, right? So
Yes.
basically, if you want to only examine whether the
Hmm.
right controls have been implemented and designed
Okay.
properly or not, okay, which is
Um,
also called as a test of design, then you only
okay.
go for SOC 2 Type 1, okay. But
Okay. Yeah.
if you want to see whether the controls are actually functioning and
Hmm.
working over a period of time, for example, let's say 6 months to 12 months, 3 months to 9 months, or let's say 6 months to 9 months, then you have to go for SOC 2 Type 2. Now tell me one thing, which one is more effective? Something which is only giving you a single day snapshot, or something which is reporting you continuously for a period of 6 months to 12 months? Which one is more effective?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So, can you hear me now, Vidya?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is audible.
Yeah. So basically, SOC 2 Type 1 is talking about the single date snapshot, okay? Just to test the
Okay.
design of the controls, right? And they're
Yeah.
not talking about whether the control is working across the months or across the, across the complete period of time, right? They're only talking about a certain date. For example, you tested a control today, and
Yeah.
tomorrow, if it is not working, you're not testing that in SOC 2 Type 1. Got it? But in SOC 2
Yeah.
Type 2, in SOC 2 Type 2, you're basically testing it for a period of time. Let's say 6
Hmm.
months to 12 months.
Hmm.
Rigorously. You're basically testing it every month rigorously. So tell me, which one is
Okay.
more effective, Type 1 or Type 2?
Yeah, type 2, definitely.
Definitely, right? Because we are testing it over a continuous period, over a period of
Yes.
time. Okay. So that is why, from a customer perspective, also, I would prefer Type 2 only, right? I would not prefer
Yes.
Type 1, because for me,
Okay.
let's say I'm an organization, right?
Hmm.
And I'm actually storing my financial data, my personal data in a for a cloud service provider. Okay,
Yeah.
then basically I need assurance, right? And my
Yes.
assurance should be over a period of time. It should not be
Hmm.
based on a particular date. It should not be based on a test of design only, because for me that data is very critical, right? It is my
Yeah.
it is my bread and butter for my business, right? So that
Correct.
is that is why SOC 2 Type 2 is gaining more and more traction every day. And just to give you more idea, okay, when to choose which one, this one is the slide that I created. Okay, so like we discussed, SOC 2 Type 2 is basically based on out of US, and
Hmm.
ISO 27001 is basically globally recognized
Yeah.
as well. And if you combine those two, then basically you get a global credibility and US trust as well. Okay, so now it's up to the organizations how they want to actually go for it. And this is the basic confusion basically people have, as you see, which ladder to take, because रास्ता दोनों तरफ जा रहा है, बस कहाँ जाना है, people don't know that, right? So that is where
Yeah.
this podcast will now help them decide this, I hope. And this is again one of the slides that are created. Why SOC 2 is basically important for SaaS companies, like we already discussed. Basically is to establish customer trust. Okay. And it's basically a competitive differentiator also for any cloud service provider. For example, you are in the market and you are able to provide a SOC 2 type 2 report, but I am in the market but I am not able to provide that report. So basically, who do you think the customer will basically trust more? A person who has the report, right? Simple. So it's basically more of a competitive edge now in the market, Vidya.
Okay, that is great. So whether you choose ISO 27001 or SOC 2, just we have to remember that compliance is not about ticking boxes. It's always about building that business reliance and trust, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Today's podcast was really really good, and मिलते हैं कल वापस एक नए power pack decision के साथ with Cyber Talk with Cyber GRC. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you, everyone. Take care.